Hello everyone, welcome again to the Digital Eccentric channel. My name is Joe Robinson, and today we're going to be playing a bit of Wildstar. Excuse me. Wildstar is a new MMO coming from NCSoft and developers Carbine Studios. Carbine was founded by a bunch of ex-Blizzard guys, and Wildstar is their MMO. It's a sort of a sci-fi, I mean it's a science fiction MMO, but it's got a heavy fantasy twist to it. A lot of the classes, like the warrior and the spellslinger, they're kind of sci-fi takes on very stock fantasy classes. So you'll see a lot of fantasy meets sci-fi in this game. It's not like a hardcore sci-fi game by any means. But this is my guy. I'm currently doing a Dominion character. The Dominion is one of the factions in the game, and I am a Mechari, which is a mechanical race of beings on the Dominion side. Dominion are considered the bad guys, as I suppose. Like that, you could make an argument they're bad in the same way that the Horde was bad in Warcraft, but at the same time these guys are pretty much set up as the bad guys. Wildstar's very tongue-in-cheek. It's very humorous. It's one of its good features actually. It's very charming. You have a lot of fun while playing these games, a lot of like kind of jokes and stuff like that. And the Dominion are, you know, the bad guys, but you know, they're kind of funny bad guys. So when you do evil stuff, you do it with a smile, essentially. So yeah, my Mechari, he's an engineer, which is a more of a kind of science fiction class archetypes. He's got guns. He's got, you know, little pet robots. He's a pet class officially. He's the only pet class in the game at the moment, and we're quite cool to play as actually. The shotgun's quite powerful. The minion abilities, the robot abilities are quite good, and your power up thingy just makes you put on a big mech suit of armor and you go stomping. So you could probably like tank and DPS as well. I think every class in the game is able to customize themselves to follow basic roles like tank, DPS and healer. Really, a lot of roles are quite flexible like that.
About time we spoke, mate. Cheers, mate. Bloody good show.
Thank you. Yes, you might hear there's a lot of kind of mock accents, fake accents, a lot of over the top kind of grandiose speech. So just for some context, I'm level 7. And I'm on the kind of the main starter continent now, just to give you some. So yeah, in Wildstar, in both factions for new players who start levels 1 to 3, they start on this big ship in orbit. Both factions came to the planet Nexus on arc ships, you know, massive ships where you have to travel across space, and you start off from the arc ship. And then once you're done there, it takes you to about level 3, level 4, depending on how long you stick around. You'll go to your initial starter zone for the Dominion. Depends on what, I think it's depending on what race you choose. It's kind of unclear yet, I haven't been able to test this, but on both sides there's like 2 choices of starter zones, possibly more, but for the moment I only know of 2. The Dominion is Levian Bay at the top here, and then you've also got Crimson Isle. A friend of mine, Andy Griffiths, who's also been playing through this. When he started a Dominion character, I think he was a Draken, and he started on the Crimson Isle, but me as a Mechari, I started here at Levian Bay. And this takes you for the next like 3 or 4 levels. I think about level 6, I then moved over to Elevar, so now I'm in, and this is like the kind of the first, this light reach mission, it's kind of the first kind of town or hub you go to once you leave Levian Bay. So this is what I'm up to right now. Just done a couple of quests that I'm going to hand in. It's a very odd game, Wildstar, in many respects. It's hard to really get a clear idea of what it is in some ways. So a lot of people compared it to World of Warcraft. I mean, you hear that a lot, you know, World of Warcraft beta, or you know, the next World of Warcraft, next heavyweight MMO. But I don't know. This is kind of the first MMO where I think it's truly been meant, perhaps. We see a lot of hints of WoW. I mean, I haven't played WoW in quite a while, but there's a lot of familiar elements to this game. It's very kind of. I don't want to seem too. Don't want to detract from the game too much, but it's like the last 10 years of MMO design hasn't happened when you play this game. I mean, there's some good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of some unique features that are unique to Wildstar, and it's the Carbine's take on certain facets of MMO design. But in a lot of other cases, it's like, okay, we'll just do what WoW did 10 years ago.
Tried to lock the she-dragon in when she stiffed
So
him
it's
on the dip.
it's a bit weird. It's
See that rock to the
inconsistent,
right?
maybe. Not
He's
necessarily a
on
bad
the
way.
right.
It's just a kind of a odd way you get kind of an odd
Diverge here. Farewell.
feeling when you play this game sometimes.
What is it? I expected you sooner, citizen. Go with the blessings of Dominus. What news, citizen?
What implants? What are the don't really know. Moxie?
Good, good. But this is no time to rest.
There's a lot of different stats in the game, and a lot of different items will buff different stats. So you kind of have to be aware of what you're doing, really, because we're using this as an example. So this, come on. Yeah. So you know, you've got two different types of leg armor essentially. So the one I just equipped, you know, it's significantly more armor, so it makes it worth it. But I lost a lot of a very high grit buff, and grit increases your base health. And some classes that's quite useful. Engineer maybe not so much. The engineer wears heavy armor and his packs a pretty powerful punch. But in my exile playthrough, I was playing as a medic, and they're quite fragile. They're a ranged class. They can only wear up to medium armor, and an enemy gets up close and personal, starts hacking at them, it can end quite badly, and it did several times. So a lot of interesting choices you have to make in this game on many levels. Where am I going? What do I want to do? To go search around a command post, apparently. It's a lot of going back to what I was saying earlier about sort of antiquated design, I suppose. Like, I've covered this game already for a website called Strategy Informer. Some of you watching may know it, some of you may not, but I've already written a kind of early impressions, and basically there's a lot of like kill quests. Like, there's a joke going round about, you know, oh, you have to go kill 10 rats, you have to go kill, you know, 10 sheep, whatever, you know, and that's considered bad. And 50 Shades of Green. Inspect. Oh god. This is what I mean about the humour. Inspect blood and sweat. Oh, this game cracks me up. But yeah, like, and you sort of expect them, you know, basic quests, low level quests. They're, you know, you throw anything, you know, go kill 10 of these. But there seems to have been a higher degree of those kind of quests in this game than what's normal, and that was slightly disappointing, because I just found myself killing a lot of things for no adequate reason other than I was told to. From behind, oh god. Where are you ladies in? She's a bit of a character, I remember her. She's in the well, she's in the Ark ship, and she's in some of your early quests, and she's like some sort of rock star scientist person who likes cameras. This one's quite It's quite amusing when she's around. All over the place at the moment, aren't you? Yeah, a couple of these as well. They ask you to run around, find people or places. A bit weird. What can you do? I like the art style in this game. It's very, again, it's kind of a mix between sort of science fiction and fantasy, which is good. You know, MMOs, they lend themselves a lot easier to sort of fantasy type games because I suppose the limited technology fits in quite well with the limitations of MMO design in many ways. Like having there's not many pure science fiction MMOs, but they sometimes face challenges of how they're designed. Tabula Rasa was a little bit like that. No? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Run away. Run away.
Glad tidings, citizen.
But yeah, a lot of message, good mesh between science fiction and fantasy. Works very well. And it kind of does remind me. I don't know whether this is just my mind playing tricks with me, but it kind of does remind me of World of Warcraft in many ways. I mean, I don't know exactly because Carbine was founded by people who have come from Blizzard. I don't know the specifics of who left. Maybe one of the art designers was among them. I don't know. But it's easy to see why people draw comparisons.
Were you looking for me? Do pay attention. You're not finished yet. Fortune favors the swift. So do I.
Go find this missing person now. Back across the bridge I go. See the stream seems to be stuttering a bit. So that's the dangers of doing an online game, I suppose. I'll have to look into that.
Oh, you big folk are big.
Lop, happy to see you. You're so pretty.
Into the hills I go, I guess. In Wildstar you get to choose, in addition to your racing class, you get to choose from several paths. Paths are, I don't know how to describe them, they're just something you choose that then allows you to get specific content, I suppose. And these paths are loosely based on kind of the battle player types. There's 4 of them. Warrior, Settler, Explorer and Scientist. I'm the of the Scientist path, and essentially they kind of they're meant to appeal to certain kinds of players. So Explorers are meant to appeal to the players who just like to poke their head around, you know, just wander, explore stuff. And so in wandering around, you can find hidden paths that only you as an explorer can unlock, which will come with different rewards. Scientists are based around players who just like to find out stuff. They like to find out the backstory of the world or the universe. They like to find out the backstory of enemies. You know, they just like collecting information essentially. So, generally speaking, it's your job to like scan and look at all the monsters and flora and fauna of the world, etc. And you can find out stuff, perhaps expose weaknesses, or you also get access to more lore that any other path can. You unlock lore and bits about Wildstar and Nexus as you go along, but the scientists can access more of it.
Double kill. Triple kill. Super kill.
Super kill. The settler is an interesting one. Theoretically it sounds quite fascinating, but I think in practice it might have a long bit to go yet. I don't know, I haven't had a chance to play it properly, but I know someone who has. Essentially the settler are for the people who like to help other people, people who are not necessarily concerned with going out into the world but staying at the hubs, you know, giving stuff to people, helping people along, all that kinds of stuff. And so essentially at the moment what I've witnessed settlers doing is essentially you go out and you collect resources and then you build like buff stations, or you build special buildings in settlement hubs that only the settlers can build, and settlers can work together in order to build these buildings, especially the ones that take the longest to build. And then once they're built, everyone can basically benefit from their effects. As I said, I'm not sure how far this path goes. I've only witnessed like buff stations so far, so like plus health, plus XP, that kind of stuff. Maybe it gets more interesting in later levels, maybe it doesn't. That's something we'll have to explore really. And then the last one is, well, warrior. You can imagine what that is. It's just for people who like to kill things. Like again, I haven't explored it fully yet, but all I've seen is that there's these random like beacons or stations around the place that only warriors can access, and they basically just start mini waves and you just have to like kill lots of things and survive, and then you get rewards for it. Again, not a terribly interesting path, but you know, some people like that sort of thing. But the paths, like players who are different paths, can work together. So if you're in a group with an explorer, you can go down the hidden paths that an explorer can find. If you're a scientist, you can. If you're with a scientist, sorry, you can help them on their scientist things. So you can all work together and benefit, which is cooperation is kind of at the heart of every MMO. So that's something. Hello? Oh, right, you have to right click on it. So this I've just triggered here is actually an example of what warriors can do with their beacons. It will trigger one of these kind of wave scenarios, and you just got to survive until it finishes.
Double kill.
We've got 11 people. Hello, people. Ah. Oh wow, this guy's tough. Wow, I was worried I wasn't going to actually do anything. I was going to die then. Where's he run off to? No, he's gone back. So yeah, sorry, what was it? Oh yeah, the paths. So that's what the some paths are more interesting than others, but then some classes are more interesting than others as well. I really like playing as the engineer and the medic as well. I'm not a great ranged player, but it's an interesting class to play as. Then you have stuff like the warrior, which is fairly bog standard. Spell slinger, which is basically a mage, I suppose. Or was that the Esper? There's Esper and spell slinger. Spell slinger is like I think a mix between a range and a mage. I think Espers were the more obvious mages because they can kill people with their minds. This area specifically isn't terribly well designed because you have quests where you have to, so you have to collect fine. It's like what I was saying earlier. Actually, you have to collect fine highland pelts, but to do that, you essentially have to kill the wolves. Anyway, there's a bunch of wolves here. Fortunately, there's not always enough spawns to go around, especially if there's multiple people operating in an area.
Double kill.
And the respawn times can take a while as well to trigger, so need some tweaking there. And again, just a high number of kill this, kill that quests. Not terribly exciting. Again, it's it is 2014. We've had a lot of MMOs, and I thought we would have moved past this, but not a lot you can do really. Apart from one quest, which I did just before this session actually. That was really bad because I had to kill a ridiculously high number of slugs, and there was drastically too few
Big folk was a big
spawn
head.
points.
Awesome.
Yeah, there was drastically too few spawn points, and the spawn timers took too long. That's the only example of a really bad quest I've seen so far, but we thought we'd be beyond this right now. So yeah, I just leveled up. I'm now level 8, and again, there's a lot of nice touches in this game, and this is one of them. So when you level up, it basically tells you exactly what that means. So you get a new feature, salvaging. You can now start salvaging items. Gear slot unlocked, weapon attachments. You can now add attachment to weapons, and then attribute increase in AMP power. So that's good. There's a lot of nice touches, and this game also uses a fair amount of micro instancing as well, similar to what the Old Republic does, just on a less grand scale, I suppose. There's not as much like dialogue and interaction with people as the Old Republic. The Old Republic really, I suppose, is the hallmark in micro instancing and single player story. And, as an MMO, it has its own problems, but I think it's really done well in trying to give a sense of story, in the sense that you're playing a well, not an MMO essentially.
Let lop down. I love that.
Yes?
Again, a lot of humour in this. You gotta like it. You gotta love it. To be honest, it's a very charming game. It kind of does help you look past the flaws. And you can just have a blast. Sorry, whilst playing.
Pleasure's all mine, I'm sure. This could be the start of a beautiful
Yeah, you
relationship,
get to learn how to salvage.
Lop, very,
There's a similar
very
quest on the
grateful.
XL path where you they just teach you how to salvage.
Speedy is good. Yes?
Could have
I mean,
been
I think so.
done in just a simple tutorial, but hey ho. You also get quests when you, because at level 10 you're allowed to start using trade skills. And there's quest lines associated with that, and you get to choose what trade skill you want. I won't talk too much about it now, because I'll talk about it more when I get there, but I will say that the trade skills seem particularly uninspired as well. It's another area of the game that it's not as good as it probably could be, which is a shame, because there's a lot of good game design in this game. A lot of, this is just a fun game, to be honest. I enjoy playing it. The prized Kurgbull with cannon launch veggies. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, combat in this game is very movement based. Like you saw that red circle appear around him. That's a tell or a telegraph. All combat in Wildstar is basically based around telegraphs. So yeah, it says my telegraphs there, and essentially it just shows the area of effect that ability will affect. So boom. Okay, that battle didn't last long enough for me to explain it, but yeah, essentially every ability has a telegraph and an area that it will affect, and if an enemy is within that telegraph, or if you're within that telegraph, they or you will be affected by it, and if not, then you missed it. So yeah, I want to make sure I'm not around there, and you know, dodge, roll, that kind of thing. Oh, pygmy boulder. Why am I being? Next one. I mean, it's still fairly like kind of, you know, under the hood dice rolling stuff once you get hit, but it's just an interesting way of doing combat in an MMO. Really, you just get to move around a bit more. You have to keep on your feet. You have to make sure your abilities are targeting the right thing, because every okay, those are fairly similar, but on the medic there was a lot more different tells and a lot more different area of effects across my abilities, so you have to make sure that you hit everything you want to hit, and abilities can affect friendly people as well, so you have to make sure, and that they come with their own telegraphs, so you have to make sure any friendly people you want to try and help are within the telegraphs of your healing abilities, essentially.
Lop bold. Lop brave. Lop sometimes need help on occasion.
Doesn't really matter, it's an inferior shield anyway.
Come back and trade any day, friend.
Oh, okay. Get one of these. Yeah. So at the moment this game is in beta, so you know, there's a lot of development still to go, a lot of polishing. Sometimes I get these customer surveys. Yeah, it was fun. Oh, 1 for not fun at all, 5 for really fun. 5 for too easy. It was a bit fairly easy. Let's see more content of this type. Yeah, it's definitely more interesting than killing 10 wolves for their pelts, I have to say. Especially the bit prior to this where you're mucking around with that good guy over there. I wish there was one for that quest I really didn't like, but either they already know or they don't really need feedback on that particular type of quest. Right, what do I need to do now? There's a couple of quests back in Lightreach, so I'll go back there and then go to the one further afield. Apologies if the just looking at what's coming up on Twitch, it looks like the stream is very stuttery. Sorry about that. There's not a lot I can do about it now. Might just cut the stream short a little bit. See if I can figure out where the problem is. I'm on a wireless connection at the moment, which probably doesn't help. I will be sorting it. I will be going onto wired as quickly as I can. Just gotta wait for my house to be rewired first, and then once that's done, I can get power line adapter, plug up to Ethernet. Should be a lot smoother. I'll try and stick to offline games for the moment because they seem to stream a lot
Pleasure's
better.
all mine, I'm sure. Glad you could spare me the time, mate. Duty calls, Gov, and there's not a moment to waste. Pleasure's all mine, I'm sure.
Oh, I have to speak to someone else.
It is only logical that you purchase from me.
Yeah, another example of lazy is not a good word, and again, I'd just say antiquated because this is that was a conversation I had between two characters, really short text bites, and to be honest, I didn't really want to read it because cutscene, especially in light of what the Old Republic's done.
Explain the situation.
Cutscene would have been better,
me.
I suppose, but you know, it's cost associated with that.
Courtroom tests, even the high
Probably put training and development, and you know, I suppose it's bad enough that they're being compared to World of Warcraft. They don't want to be compared to the Old Republic as well. So. Right, so that's all of the quests that I've got going on here right now. I'll call it a day for now because the stream's being quite stuttery and I don't want to subject you guys to well, to a poor stream really. You guys deserve better than that, especially there's 12 of you now, there's 15, so again just thank you very much for watching me. Feel free to talk in chat next time if you want, make requests or what have you. I will work on improving the quality of the stream for MMOs and the like, and I'll stick to offline games for the moment, just to keep things a bit more stable and less stuttery. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this half an hour snippet of Wildstar. It's a very interesting game. I do recommend you play it, especially if you are a fan of World of Warcraft. Yeah, there's a lot to like in here coming from World of Warcraft, and it's just a fun game to play. It's really charming, really just really funny. You know, I love having the jokes and tongue-in-cheek glibness and the mocking and the self-mocking and all that. So it's really good. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I will improve on the stream and hopefully I'll be able to bring you some more Wildstar another time. Alright. Thanks guys.